There are quite a bit of ready-to-use Spitzer data already available at IRSA, but you have to know a little bit about how to find it. If you go to the IRSA page, go to Spitzer, and scroll down, you can see that there's a whole bunch of things called legacy and exploration science programs, as well as just plain contributed data sets. Gosh, there's a lot. So if I were studying, say, M101, how would I go about finding all of the Spitzer data? Well, there's a couple ways to go about it. First, let's go to the Spitzer Heritage Archive, and I can put in M101. Ned resolves it, and I can tell it to give me everything. Level AWARS, Level 2, Level 1, IRS Enhanced, SEIP Super Mosaics, and SEIP Source List. Remember that AORs are the fundamental unit of Spitzer observing, so this tab is the most compact way of tracking Spitzer observations, and post-BCD mosaics are the highest level pipeline products, and then these three products combine AORs at a high level. So if we search that, then it's going to come back with many results. So there's 75 observations that are in the AOR tab. If we go to the IRS Enhanced Products and look at the data preview, there's a spectrum. There's not very much data there. Super mosaics, well, there are 72 super mosaics here. It looks like they're covering a fairly broad region. I may have to go scroll through the list and see if I can find the regions that are centered on the thing that I care about. If I go to the data coverage tab, then it'll show me where all the polygons are on the sky compared to my search target. So the super mosaics are that color lavender. So there's several different super mosaics that incorporate my target. Then the source list here, that's extracted sources. So there's lots of useful data here already. If I want to save the source list, I go to the diskette, and then I can save that in a variety of formats. If I want to save the mosaics, I go here, select all of them, and prepare download to get them. But I happen to know that there's a lot more data from Spitzer on M101. So let's go back to the front page, and I can put in M101 here. Then if I search, it's going to give me a list of all the data sets that it finds that overlap that position on the sky. So it found 99 different data sets that overlap M101. I'm going to sort this list by mission. There's a whole bunch of 2MASS data, some Akari data, some data from a program called Z0MGS. To learn more about what these individual projects are, I can click on Info to learn more about it. There's also Gaia data from a project called Heron, whole bunch of Herschel data, IRAS data, some ISO data, some data from MSX, some data from PTF, data from Planck, Sophia. There's a whole bunch of Spitzer data, including data from the LVL project, the S4G project, both catalogs and images. So there's some additional information on specifically Spitzer projects that have delivered data back to us at IRSA. Just continuing through the list, WISE data might be of interest too, and then there's ZTF data could also be useful. So let's go back up here. If I go over here to the LVL role, it's got 2 Data Collection Explorer, and similarly for the S4G, there's 2 Data Collection Explorer. So if I click on that, it's going to launch a DCE session with the data from that search already loaded. You may need to give it a second though. Okay, there are all of the LVL images that it found. Let's go back and load in the S4G images. All right, so now it's loaded the S4G images as well. So now we've got some Spitzer data from LVL and Galax data. Let's filter this down so that it's just science, apply. So we've got Galax, MIPS, and IRAC here. And over here, again, let's filter this down so it's just science. And we've got IRAC data here. So to learn more about what these data products are, I can click on Data Help there. That takes me to the same mission page that has more information that I get if I click on the eye with the circle in it in that list. And I can download the data just like that. So there's other data in here too. If I go back to this list, there's lots of other information. There's the catalog. If I click on To IRSA Viewer, then it will also add into this session data from the catalog from S4G. If I go back over here, there's also WISE data. If I click on the Atlas Image Inventory table. It launches an image search in the WISE tool for data from WISE on M101. Moving back up to the top, let's go look at some of the Herschel data. There's Herschel high-level images. That's kind of like SEIP, but for Herschel. So it found several PACS Inspire images. Also pretty useful. So there's lots and lots of data that you can find here at IRSA, ready to use, ready to do science.